Hello and welcome to another wonderful episode of Iron Port. This program is proudly brought to you by Syrian Insurance, Gull PLC, the Ghana Revenue Authority, Ghana Link, Meridian Port Services, and Phoenix Insurance. Our proud media partner is the Business and Financial Times. This program is powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Now, folks, this week we are discussing how to combat counterfeit and also illegal pesticides through effective collaboration for public health. And we had in the studio an official from CropLife Ghana to have this particular discussion. Let's take a listen.
I want us to start by actually understanding the scope of the counterfeit and illegal pesticides problem in Ghana.
The issue of counterfeit and illegal pesticides is a very sensitive one because it's been with us for a long time. And it's not even only with the pesticide industry, it cuts across other sectors and industries as well, and it is difficult to deal with.
That's why I want us to highlight on the impact.
Yes.
What's the impact on our health and on the environment? Maybe if they understand this, the job will be easier for you and I.
These products that are counterfeited, that is to tell you that there's no research that has gone into it, because these ones are not approved. Some people sit somewhere and they formulate some concoctions into it that hasn't been tried and tested. You don't know the actives that are involved in it. Then when you buy them, what it means is that even the dosage rates, you would get them wrong. The actives might be even more, or you don't even understand, might be less, which will not get the effect on your crops and then your produce. There is something we call MRLs. That is maximum residue levels.
Okay.
Now, what it means is that when you apply your pesticides on crops, the acceptable ones, the registered ones, the approved ones, the residue levels are very minimal because they have been tried and tested on those crops. And for instance, they let you know that, okay, when you apply this pesticide on this particular crop, after this number of days, the residues would go off. These have been tried and tested. Now, these counterfeit products, they haven't been tried and tested. No research, no data, no scientific proof. What happens is that when you use these counterfeit products on your crops, they are not going to work like the way they are supposed to work. And on the farmer's level, that is going to be loss of income. Then your crops are not also going to produce like the way they are supposed to produce. Your yields are going to go down, and then your incomes are going to go down. Now, what you are breathing in, what you are spraying, you don't even know the content of that. You don't know the content of that. And when you spray and then you are contaminated by these pesticides, they are going to give you some health issues that even doctors would struggle to identify, because the registered ones, the approved ones, in cases of even contamination, it is written boldly on the labels, the first aid and then the kind of treatment the doctors are supposed to treat. So you send a pesticide to a doctor and he looks at the active and he's able to tell you, okay, with this active, this is what I can administer to reduce the effect of it. But counterfeits, you don't know what these actives are, you don't know the content of it, and then they are going to pose a lot of health implications. And as I mentioned, with the MRLs issues too, what happens is that if you use counterfeit, the residue levels are usually very high. So you harvest your produce, and then there are still a lot of residues of those chemicals or those concocted formulations on your produce. And you eat them, and it has a lot of health implications on you. So it affects the human health, it affects the crops, and it affects the environment, water bodies as well. So this is a very serious issue that as CropLife, we have been sensitizing the farmers, that especially those who live around the border towns, that you should be wary of buying products that come from the land borders that have not been registered and approved by the EPA. In Ghana, we have laws that regulate pesticide use. And one of such laws is the Environmental Protection Act, which was enacted in 1994, Act 490, and also the Plant and Fertilizer Act, which was also enacted in 2010, Act 804. So the EPA is the only mandated regulatory organization to register pesticides. And once they register, they are supposed to follow through to see the management and then the use of these pesticides, which we work very closely with them as industry to make sure that what is being registered and approved is what is in the system. But that is not always the case because we have a lot of fraudulent people who bring these pesticides, counterfeit and illegal pesticides, through the unapproved borders. And especially too on, if you go to these local communities, on the market dates, you would usually see people riding bicycles and then selling products that are suspicious.
Okay.
Yes. And what we should also take note is that as the general public should know that every year the EPA releases a list of approved and registered pesticides for use in Ghana. And in that list, we have another list of banned pesticides. Okay. So at every point in time, if you are privy to the list of the approved pesticides, you know which products have been approved for sale in the markets and which ones haven't been approved for sale in the market. And this should guide farmers and then agro-input dealers and the general public.
Okay.
And when buying these products.
Let's look at the most significant health risk on both farmers and the consumers.
Yeah. So significant health risks, it varies from individual to individual.
Okay.
So let me take you back a little bit again. Now, there are 4 ways by which someone can get contaminated with these pesticides, counterfeit and illegal pesticides. Through the skin, during application, the person doesn't use the right personal protective equipment. It can go through, it can get affected through the skin, then possibly through ingestion or by accident. We have farmers who, when they are spraying, they even taste the pesticide to see the efficacy of it, and that is a challenge.
Yeah.
So through the mouth, someone can get infected with these pesticides. Then through the nose, inhalation, by breathing in the pesticides during spraying or even mixing. If you don't use the right personal protective equipment, you can get infected as well, and then through the eyes. Now, the major health risks, like as I said, it varies depending on how you get infected with the pesticides.
Okay.
Through the nose, it comes with a lot of respiratory tract diseases or infections. Through the skin, we have had reports of various skin diseases that farmers get by using these counterfeit and illegal pesticides. And we are also working closely with the Poison Information Center that is stationed at Rich, that farmers are supposed to call in, or the general public are supposed to call in cases where or suspicions of pesticide poisoning, so that they can diagnose and then advise what treatment to give. So with the health risk, it varies from what active ingredient you take and then which part of your body that it goes to. I give you an example. There was a study somewhere up north. I don't want to mention the exact location.
Okay.
And what they realized was that most of the women were moving from that community to other communities to marry. And there was a lot of promiscuity in that locality. Now, they did an investigation to realize that a lot of the men there were impotent.
Okay.
When they did testing, they tested their blood to see the residues of pesticides in them. It was very high. And a lot of them were counterfeit and illegal. And what they did was that when they are spraying too, they don't protect
Their skin.
their skin.
Okay.
We have what we call the personal protective equipments, which starts from the hat, the goggles, the nose masks, the overall, the gloves, and then the Wellington boots. A lot of our farmers don't do that. And when they did the investigation, they realized that a lot of the men were impotent. And that is one of the health risks that the general public could get when they use counterfeit and illegal pesticides, because these actives are not known. The contents are not known. They have not been scientifically proven and approved for use. So anyone putting an unknown or unsuspecting substance and you go and buy it, this is what it could lead to. Then in terms of the crop use too, what it does is that, as I said, one, MRLs. With the registered and approved one, usually on the pesticide labels, there's something they call the PHI, which is the pre-harvest interval. What it means is that they can tell you that, okay, after spraying this pesticide on your farm, you need to observe a pre-harvest interval of, for instance, 7 days, depending on the efficacy of the product. So what it means is that you shouldn't harvest your crops until after the 7 days. If you do, then there still be some residues on it. So these have been scientifically proven. Now, those ones that have not been scientifically proven do not have these PHIs, pre-harvest intervals. So farmers would spray and wouldn't know the right time they would have to go and then harvest, because it's not on the label, it's not been proven. Go and harvest, and then you don't know the PHI, and then the residues are still on the produce. So you eat these crops, you eat this produce that has residues of these counterfeit pesticides on it, and then it's going to have damning effects on the human health as well.
The agric import dealers.
Yes.
How can they be more proactive to, prevent some of these counterfeit pesticides from entering the market?
Yes, that is why I say it's a collective effort. For me, it has to start from the farmer level. It has to start from the farmer level. Because if the farmers understand that, okay, I need to buy my inputs or pesticides from a registered input dealer, then we are halfway through the problem. If they come to the registered input dealers, obviously the products they have gotten have been certified and approved by the EPA. But in most cases, as I said, the farmers are used to buying from wayside, no traceability, mobile vans, which is not acceptable. There's no traceability. If just like the pharmaceuticals, if you want to get a para, you need to walk into a pharmacy, because there's traceability. If you go and there's an issue, you can always come back. And that is the first point that we need to let the farmers understand, that, okay, buy your pesticides from the approved, registered, and trained agri-input dealers across the country. But farmers sometimes feel that, to cut corners and then to cut costs, they will just buy from the wayside. And especially on these market days, you see people bringing in on pesticides on bicycles and they vanish. No traceability.
I believe that in trying to prevent this, we should know the cause or the factors that contribute to the availability of these counterfeit pesticides. Do you know?
Yes. So as that sector is, as I said, is just like any other sector. It is difficult to uproot it. We can only do our bit to reduce it, because a lot of these counterfeit and illegal pesticides come from the unapproved borders. And we need to check our borders too. And as I said, we've trained these border security service personnel to be able to identify and tackle them. And then we've also had reports where some people somewhere in Ghana here are also seated and then changing labels and concocting. So if you have, it is difficult for us to sit here and detect. So if you as a farmer and as an input dealer or someone just a user of the pesticide, you buy something from someone, there should be that traceability so that if it is a suspected product, we can always trace back to the source of it. But if you buy from the wayside, someone who is mobile vans that are, if there's an issue, it will be difficult to trace back. And that is where the challenge is. Pesticides are very sensitive, and we shouldn't treat them like the water that we drink. We should know where we buy them. They should be from the approved and licensed dealers.
In all of this, what role does the Food and Drugs Authority and the Ghana Standards Board play?
Yes, so we work closely with the Standard Authority as well, because they also give standards. So it's a cohort. So what we have what we call the Pesticide Technical Committee, which the Standard Authority is also part of. So they look at issues of pesticides. They give the standardization, and they work closely with EPA as well. So we work with Standards Authority on the actives, the content of it, how to apply them, how to use, and they even test what we call the active ingredients. They advise on the application, the liters per acre or per knapsack to be used on your crops. Okay. So the Standard Authority is also doing very well, and we've had very good engagements with them over the past few years as well.
What's your long-term plan? I mean, CropLife Ghana, your long-term plan in helping to address these pesticides, counterfeit pesticides, to improve or actually promote sustainable agriculture?
So, as I said, this is a really dicey issue, and even it goes beyond CropLife Ghana to CropLife International. So we are having a global approach to fighting counterfeit and illegal pesticides. And our approach is to sensitize the public, farmers, users, all users of pesticides, and all users of pesticide products in the country. Sensitization, capacity building, training, and then arrest and prosecution. Sometimes we realize that a lot of people have been caught in the trap of selling counterfeit and illegal pesticides. But what has been missing in this chain has always been the prosecution aspect. And that is why we are also collaborating with the Attorney General's Department, the Department of Public Prosecution, so that we can prosecute offenders who are caught in the sale and distribution of counterfeit and illegal pesticides, and continue. Sensitization is a process. Okay. It's not an event. We'll continue sensitizing the general public, farmers, and then users of pesticides that they should use the right and approved pesticide products by buying them from the licensed and trained input dealers across the length and breadth of the country.
Iron Port returns after this break.
Good energy brings you quality choices with Goil Super XP. Available in many Goil stations nationwide. It is fortified with special additives that help your engine perform better and use less fuel. Branch into a Goil station today and energize your ride with Goil Super XP, compatible with most vehicles. Goil Super XP will feel ya, huh? Will be feel. Goil, good energy. Yeah, yeah.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Oga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
Welcome to the GPHA port of Takoradi, Ghana's first commercial port. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority (GPHA) has in its quest to position the ports of Ghana as the leading trade and logistics hub of West Africa, embarked on a massive expansion drive at its Takoradi port, the first commercial port of the country. This has resulted in a radical transformation of the initial 7-berth low-drafted port, which was constructed in 1928, to an ultra-modern port fitted with deep-drafted container, multi-purpose dry bulk, and liquid bulk facilities. The 16-meter deep dry bulk terminal is the deepest in the sub-region, with a total quay length of 800 meters. It is fitted with a combined 3-kilometer length conveyor system, which comes with a 2,500 metric tons per hour ship loading capacity, which has greatly improved ship turnaround time at the port. The Marshall Liquid Bulk Terminal is a fully automated liquid bulk facility dredged to -14 chart datum and equipped with automated firefighting system. The facility is fitted with 5 loading arms for gasoline, diesel, LPG, bitumen, and heavy fuel. On the container side, Takoradi Port's 16-meter deep Yield-Port and ATSL container terminal with a quay length of 600 is expected to receive container vessels in the 3rd quarter of the year.
It's now time for some news and activities happening within the port and maritime industry.
A significant high-level stakeholder engagement was held in Accra last Wednesday, marking a critical milestone in the ongoing project to strengthen local capacity and address the destabilizing impacts of foreign fishing vessels in the Gulf of Guinea and Mauritania. Organized by the Center for Maritime Law and Security Seamless Africa in partnership with the Center for Coastal Management at the University of Cape Coast, this event brought together key industry experts and policy leaders to discuss strategies for reshaping Ghana's fisheries sector. The high-level gathering highlighted essential findings from recent reports on monitoring, control, and surveillance capabilities and local ownership strategies within Ghana's industrial fishing sector. These reports were produced through a collaborative effort with stakeholders across Ghana's fisheries sector, underscoring the sector's commitment to sustainable practices and regional governance. Speaking on behalf of the U.S. Department of State Regional Environment Officer at the U.S. Embassy, Justin King, reaffirmed continued support for Ghana's fight against illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, which has drained the country of over $2 billion in revenue annually.
With the launch of this project, promoting local capacity to address the stabilizing impacts of foreign fishing vessels in the Gulf of Guinea and in Mauritania, the United States government is reinforcing its commitment to regional cooperation to build stronger rules and standards governing fisheries. Additionally, the United States government aims to engage with flag, coastal, port, and market states to promote responsibility and accountability.
The Chief Director at the Ministries of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Dr. Marianne Papa, representing the sector minister, highlighted the new Fisheries and Aquaculture Bill currently before Parliament, which is anticipated to bring substantial reforms.
The new bill, which we have deposited with Parliament, awaiting Parliament's enactment, includes stricter licensing standards for foreign-owned vessels, requiring clearer ownership, transparency, and compliance with sustainability protocols. It also includes stiffer penalties for vessels engaged in IUU fishing or environmental degradation, and these include significant fines, seizures, and blacklisting.
The deputy ranking member of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs, Godfrey Seydou Gisal, reinforced Parliament's commitment to transformative action within the fisheries sector.
But we are committed to ensuring that reflections from all stakeholders in this subsector are reflected, particularly that the timing is good for us to take advantage of a new law to be able to support a legal and regulatory framework and environment to ensure that whatever policy recommendations are made, particularly from this work that we are doing today, and therefore this dialogue can be accommodated within a legal structure.
Dr. Kamal Din Ali, Executive Director and Project Lead at SIM Laws Africa, further discussed the project's objectives and milestones with Iron Port.
So we expect that the discussions here will communicate the discussions through our project funding agency, but also to the relevant ministries and institutions. And those recommendations will be before their table as policy recommendations. But they will have to transform them into policy actions, and that is what we'll be looking up to. What we expect is that given the good findings and initial activities that has been done, that we'll be able to build upon this. So that discussion will have to go on with the funding agency, the U.S. State Department, to provide a phase for now implementing and monitoring that most of the recommendations here are brought into effect. So that is the next critical phase that we are looking at.
In response to concerns over foreign dominance in Ghana's straw and tuna industries, industry representatives shared their perspectives on advancing local participation and ownership in these sectors.
So what I'm saying is, for us not to pretend, let us first remove that hurdle of limiting foreigners' participation in the trawl and allow legitimate trawl guys who own vessels outside but can come to Ghana and partner Ghanaian to operate. That will take a lot of these things away, and then if it is subjecting them to a more rigorous law, we can't do that.
As far back as the 60s, where we had the State Fishing Corporation, Ghanaians owned vessels. So maybe 50 years, 60 years down the line, why can't Ghanaians own their own vessels? If there are funding issues, I believe that is where government will have to sit down with them and then, absorb some of the cost or give them payment plans and then let them own the vessels. Nobody can profess to love oneself better than he himself. And therefore, if Ghanaians own the vessels, I believe that as Ghanaians, they also would want to manage the resource such that children yet unborn may also come and inherit a viable natural resource.
We have some international port and maritime news coming up next.
UNCTAD's review of maritime transport 2024 underscores the crucial role African ports could play in advancing the green hydrogen economy, acting as central hubs for production, distribution, and export across the continent. According to the report, ports, due to their established infrastructure and strategic coastal positions, are poised to facilitate green hydrogen supply to port communities and hinterlands, thus strengthening Africa's role as a global energy exporter. Several major collaborations are underway. CESPA and Sonatrach are focusing on green hydrogen supply from Algeria to Europe, while VNG and partners are exploring imports via the South H2 corridor. In Tunisia, Total Energies, Erin, and Verbund are advancing a hydrogen project aimed at boosting renewable exports. Notably, in 2023, Namibia and Hyphen Hydrogen Energy secured a landmark deal to produce and export up to 300,000 tons of green hydrogen annually, with Angola, Egypt, Mauritania, Morocco, and Tunisia also preparing for similar ventures. The report forecasts that by 2050, Europe will be a major importer of African green hydrogen, fostering decarbonization across industries and supporting Africa's renewable energy ambitions. Thekla Bollywood Shipyards, based in the Netherlands, has launched the Lana, a 5,050 deadweight ton diesel-electric multi-purpose vessel, as part of Transtal Shipping's fleet renewal strategy. Measuring 87.3 meters in length with a 6.3 meter draft, the Lana is the first in the Salmo series, which prioritizes sustainability in design and construction. This vessel class, with capacities between 5,050 and 6,500 deadweight ton, exceeds the International Maritime Organization Energy Efficiency Design Index Phase 3 standard, achieving over 32% below the emission requirement. Equipped with three 532 brake kilowatt generator sets and two 600 electric kilowatt electric motors, the series promotes fuel efficiency, low emissions, and reduced OPEX. The Salmo vessels are engineered to accommodate future fuel options such as methanol and hydrogen without needing an overhaul of the electric propulsion system. The Lana hull shape, optimized for this propulsion, draws on designs from the larger 7,280 deadweight ton Labrax series, which includes orders from Vetom Group. Vetom has taken delivery of several Labrax series vessels, including MV Vetom Party in 2022 and 4 subsequent vessels through 2024, with the most recent addition, Vetom Lisa, joining in June.
So schedules of vessels in the port, those at anchorage and those expected in the coming week, plus the Bank of Ghana exchange rate you need to know to clear your goods from the port next. We have your comments next.
Hi, Iron Port. I am Jojo. I agree with most of the things your guest is saying, but find out from him what mechanisms are in place for farmers or consumers to report suspicious or counterfeit pesticide products. Hello, Jojo. According to our guest, farmers should be able to report to agriculture extension agents who are usually the closest to the farmers. Also, you can go to the local district department of food and agriculture, and if there is an EPA office nearby, that would be their best option. They can also call CropLife to report this. We will take it up with the regulators to make the seizures.
Let's take a listen to our phrase of the day as well as the safety and health tips.
ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization. It is a worldwide organization formed to promote development of standards to facilitate the international carriage and exchange of goods and services.
Regular exercise. Regular exercise is moving your body for at least 30 minutes a day, 5 times a week can improve your overall health and well-being. Regular exercise releases endorphins, which are hormones that makes you feel good.
So this is where we draw the curtain on this week's episode of Iron Port. Thank you for watching and thanks to the entire crew. Join us same time next week, and also don't forget to follow us on our various social media platforms on your screens.